Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, we're going to be talking about transit Mercury conjunct one's natal Saturn. Now, when we're talking about transits of Mercury, it can involve being objective, communication, thinking, learning, assimilating, and processing information. And since this transit is hitting Saturn, this could be about being more objective, more communicative, thinking and learning more about things that are business related. Say if this is an Aquarius, it could be some business connected with information technology, computers, electronics, just new technology, innovations, astrology, aerospace. This is something, and if you don't have a business, it might be a time where you might even be thinking about starting one, perhaps. And really, this is a time too where you're more, could be more objective, disciplined in your thinking, and also just being communication regarding being more disciplined and having more structure in your life. If you have this in the fourth house, say, it could be where you're communicating more about having more structure in your home life. If it's in the zodiac sign Taurus, it could be about peace, stability, and structure in the home life. And again, if you have that transit in Taurus in the fourth house in your natal chart. Now, it could also be a time where, if you haven't been communicating much with the father, you might find that the father might be a little bit more loquacious and you're more objective regarding this person at this time. If you've been somewhat critical or judgmental of your father at this time, this could be the time where you start evaluating more the pros and cons, the positive aspects, the negative in this person. And also, it could also be a time too where you're really you might be learning more about matters connected with a career. If this is something, say, you might be, like if you're in some paid, training, say if you have this in the ninth house, and it's like you're getting some schooling, post-high school schooling for some career, and you're also learning about it. This could be a good, auspicious period. If it's in Gemini, say, it could be some hands-on training, maybe even getting paid, learning about what you're going to be doing career-wise, and you could be doing something with something with the hands, such as auto refrigeration mechanics, or just something with communications in general. It could be a time too where you might really be, thinking more about, what as far as your limitations, your restrictions. If it's in Taurus, it might be something of a monetary nature or something with perseverance or persistence. At this time, you might be speaking more aloud about this, more so than usual. It could be a time too where you might be, thinking more about what your fears are. At this time, Saturn can reflect what may be stopping you from, attaining what you want in some instances, and you're talking about a time where you might be articulating more what may be making you, what are the fears right now. Again, going back to the zodiac sign Taurus, it could be, say if you have this like in the 12th house especially, it could be about a fear of a commitment and having some kind of very stability or some kind of love connection, especially that example of Gemini is rising. In many cases it would be if somebody's having this transit in Taurus take place in the 12th house. Gemini is often rising. I have Saturn in Taurus in my 12th house, but I have a Taurus ascendant. But anyway, it could also be a time too where you might be, it might be more conversation. If you have something where you have any kind of debilitation, because Saturn rules chronic debilitations and illnesses. If you have something going on with your knees, your bones, joints, hamstrings, teeth, skin, those are things anatomically that correspond with the planet Saturn. This could be a time where you might be really, thinking about what you may want to do with them. If it might be surgery, perhaps in some cases, or if you need to do some, take some kind of supplement or nutrient, if there's some joint damage problems or, bone deterioration or loss, what are you going to be doing about this? And this could be the time where you might be putting much thought into that. And also, too, this is a time too where it's also about learning about what responsibilities you may have if you've been shirking some responsibilities. It could be a time where you become more learned at them. If this is a situation, or say if this is in the fourth house, it might be taking care of a debilitated or sickly home or family member or someone you're just simply close to home with. And this is a time too where you might find where authority figures might be more valuable, and you might be talking more with these people. And at this time, if you're a place of business, if you're in a subordinate, subservient position, it could be a time when you find yourself talking to these people more so than usual. And also too, this is a time too where you may be going back to chronic debilitations, where you might be, articulating these things at this time more so than usual. If this is Aries, say it might be some situation with the skull or something with the face. If it's in Virgo, it might be some issue like with the spleen or the pancreas. This is and it'll depend. A lot of it can depend on the sign that it's in. And the thing is too, it could also be about talking more about laborious work at this time as well. Say if this is in Libra, it could be laborious efforts in graphic art, and that's not necessarily limited to like career related matters or real actual job work related matters. Libra is associated with persuasion, relationships. So this could be where these things may be arduous, and you may be talking about them more so than usual at this time. And if it's in, again, going back to zodiac sign Libra, it could also be about thinking about maybe some chronic issues with the lower back or kidneys, and especially if this would fall in the first or sixth house in your natal chart. First house, of course, corresponds with the physical body. Sixth house is connected with physical related matters. Now, another way this could manifest and pan out, this could be about siblings, cousins, neighbors, might figure more prominently, more in your career, in your responsibilities. Say, for example, if you have this in Taurus in the 8th house in your natal chart, it could be about really, maybe it could be more encouragement from these people about remaining calm, composed, simply unflappable, which is Taurus, in a crisis situation. Which is 8th house, of course, is associated with crisis. And if, again, going back to Taurus, as far as the career goes, it could be some Taurus professions such as finance, or working as a stockbroker, agriculture, cultivating, gardening, some kind of maybe financial advisor. Another thing, or something with art. And another thing too, this could be where your thinking is more premeditated, more so than usual, where you're actually, this could be a very good time for planning something out, plotting something out, whether it's you're taking a long distance journey, or it's it's a situation where it's a short journey, you're trying to move somewhere, or trying to make some career transition. This could be the time where your thinking is much more planned out, premeditative thinking, more beforehand what you're going to do before you actually do it. And say if this is in Aquarius, it could be about really planning ahead on some matters connected with altruism or selflessness. If this is something where you need to express that energy, are these the right people to express altruism, selflessness? Doing something with computers or electronics is another example. And at this time as well, as far as, Mercury can be connected with driving and short journeys, so your driving may be more prudent and more planned at this time, more so than usual. You might be a lot more cautious regarding, making turns and having the signal on, whatever you need to do. And if you're like somewhat of a reckless driver, it could be very shocking and surprising to a lot of people to see that you're much more assiduous, much more prudent in driving, more so than usual at this time, assuming you are a driver. Now, another thing too is remember that Mercury can be associated anatomically with the hands, the arms, even eyesight, fingers, the lungs, nerves, even the brain. So it could be something where, in some isolated cases, you may have some serious issues that are connected with this, or if you have issues, whether they're serious or not, you may be more inclined to be much more careful in those matters. I mean, if you have, like, say, if there's nerve damage to your hands, it might be a time where you're much more careful about how you're gripping things, and doing things in a way where you don't exacerbate the issue. Hold on a moment, people. Anyway. And it could be a time where short journeys may provide more roadblocks and obstructions, more so than usual. You might be, you're thinking, and your mind may be a little bit more melancholy, more despondent, and depending on the sign that it's in. Again, going back to zodiac sign of Taurus, it could be over maybe some values, or it could be something connected with money, something monetary, or the inability maybe to be persistent or patient or show perseverance. And the thing is, this could also be where, on a positive note though, as far as when you have this transit, is the mind can be more, it's more about having more power of concentration and not allowing extraneous things to interfere with whatever it is you're doing. If you're somebody that is easily distracted, if you have a dominant like Gemini chart or even Sagittarius, this could be a time where you might surprise some people and show more single-mindedness, more focus on whatever it is you're trying to do and accomplish. And it could be actually a good time for, like, writing. You might get writer's block because it's, Saturn could represent roadblocks. Mercury, of course, associated with communication, which includes writing. But it could also be about getting some kind of news might be received regarding your career, your father, perhaps. It could be over, some kind of business or something connected, with, if you're involved in politics or the government, it could be some matter connected with that. What you're doing, if what you're doing might be government sponsored, as an example, or getting some approval from some authority in your neighborhood. If you're trying to make some kind of variance or partition or expansion on your home, and you're trying to get some kind of approval, say if it's in the fourth house as your example, I mean, maybe that could be something, home, like expansion of the home, and you're trying to get word on it. You might get news of it at this point in time. And because Saturn, of course, is associated with authority, government figures, and and this could be a time where you're thinking more, again, going back to fears. It could be, say, if this is in Gemini, it could be about being more, well-rounded, more versatile, being able to diversify. Going out in Sagittarius, it could simply be going outside the box, expanding horizons. There might be more fear, and you're thinking about these fears perhaps more so at this time than usual. But another possibility, this could be auspicious for learning Saturn-related things, whether it could be business or dentistry, something with politics. It could be doing some kind of building, structures. It could be something with construction or architecture, or anything that could be Saturn related at this time, or maybe becoming going into a position of authority, perhaps. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.